I would walk back home after work. One night as I was returning, I felt an eerie sensation as if someone was following me. I turned around several times but there was no one there. The streets were empty, and the only sound was the rustling of leaves in the wind. When I reached the house, I found my friends gathered in the living room, visibly shaken. They told me they had seen a shadow moving in the hallway, but when they went to check, there was nothing. We tried to dismiss it, attributing it to our fatigue and the stress of our jobs. However, the occurrences became more frequent. Strange noises in the night, the feeling of being watched, and objects that seemed to move on their own. One evening, as we sat in the dimly lit living room, the lights flickered and went out. We were plunged into darkness, and in that moment, we all heard a whispering voice, unintelligible and chilling. We scrambled for flashlights, and when the lights came back on, we were all on edge. We decided to investigate the history of the house. It turned out that it had been abandoned for many years before we moved in. There were rumors about the previous owner, a recluse who practiced strange rituals. The townspeople spoke of eerie happenings and unexplained disappearances linked to the house. This revelation added to our unease, but we couldn't afford to move out. As Halloween approached, the atmosphere in the house grew more oppressive. We tried to keep our spirits up, decorating the house and planning a small gathering. But the feeling of dread was inescapable. On the night of Halloween, as we sat together, hoping for a quiet evening, the temperature suddenly dropped, and we saw our breath misting in the air. The lights flickered again, and we heard a loud thud from the attic. Mustering our courage, we decided to investigate. What we found left us speechless. The truth is, everything seemed calm, filled with trees and beautiful natural landscapes, so I never minded taking those walks. But when I went out at dawn, I tried to walk as fast as possible because everything became very eerie in the area. One day I left work very late, around 2 in the morning, and I knew I still had a long way to walk. I tried not to think about it, put on my headphones and turned up the music. As I walked, I felt something strange, something I hadn't felt before. Sometimes I imagined someone was following me, but it was just a feeling. But now it wasn't. I knew someone was. I would suddenly turn around to see if someone was following me, but I only saw the dark avenue lined with trees, so I walked as fast as I could until I reached the house. When I arrived, everyone was asleep. I collapsed into bed, utterly exhausted. Not 5 minutes had passed when my friend woke me up. He said someone was in the room. I was so tired that I told him no one was there and to let me sleep. He covered his face with the blanket, leaving only his hair exposed. Then, I noticed his hair moving strangely as if someone was moving it. Seeing that, I began to hear the sound everyone talked about, like someone crawling. But now, that sound was inside the room. I don't know if it was because I was so tired or half asleep, but instead of fear it made me laugh, and I gave my friend a hard smack. He woke up, and with a mocking smile I said, "You were right, the crawling man is in the room." My friend opened his eyes in shock and froze. Laughing, I told him to turn on the light because it was closer to him. When I said this, someone at the foot of the bed started trying to pull the blanket down. I thought it was my friend moving it and jokingly said, "We're screwed." I started laughing, but he was crying in fear. For some reason, maybe because it was funny to see him like that, or because I was truly exhausted, I wasn't scared. There was a moment when I started to feel something touching my back, and I told my friend, "Something is touching my back." My friend couldn't take it anymore and seemed to faint. Seeing that, I got angry because it was no longer funny. Being a Christian, I remembered what a pastor had said to get rid of such things. Out loud, I said, "In God's name, stop bothering." And at that moment it left my back. This time, I didn't say anything more and fell asleep. The next day my friend and I got up to work. He was very serious and didn't want to talk about it. I found it amusing. But my laughter faded when my friend turned pale. He pointed at my leg with his finger. I looked down and couldn't believe what I was seeing. I had scratches from very long fingers on one leg. Now I was genuinely scared. I took my phone and snapped a photo which I attached in the email. I couldn't believe it. At first, I thought it was my hand, the blanket, the pants, or some allergy. But I'm not allergic to anything, and my leg didn't actually hurt. When I touched the skin, it felt normal. There were no dry patches or welts, it was as if it was beneath the surface. After that day, I told my friend that we needed to get out of there as quickly as possible. We had saved up some money and could return to the city. So, within a week we were moving out. As we were leaving, the landlord asked if we had heard anything at night. My friends and I exchanged glances. He told us that sometimes they heard a strange noise, supposedly because the old owner of the house appeared. He mentioned that this person had hanged himself in one of the rooms. But since he had no friends and the house was completely isolated, his body had begun to decompose. It reached the point where it detached from the rope that held him, spreading across the floor. His sister found him during a visit. My friends and I felt the blood run cold in our veins. We were utterly terrified. The crawling man was real.